So with the NFL draft about a month away, actually exactly a month away from today, it's weird, as well as the Vikings probably being in the clubhouse in free agency, barring a Robbie Anderson, barring a last-minute Joe Thuney trade. So the Vikings basically are done with free agency as is. And how do we feel? Like, how do we feel right now as a Vikings fan? Because I was asking myself this the other day. As you know, the Vikings are essentially done for agency. A lot of players are gone. Kirk Cousins has been extended. Diggs has been traded. There has been a lot of change and turnover on this team. And you would think that a team that went to the wildcard round, won on the road, got to the divisional round, lost to the eventual NFC champions, thinking like, okay, maybe you don't need this massive turnover. Maybe you don't need this entire overhaul of the team. Even though we said this is a retool, this is not a rebuild. If they didn't extend Cousins, this might be a rebuild. But the team has thrown their lot in with Kirk Cousins and the defensive side of the ball. Maybe you could chalk it up to, hey, these guys were out of contract. Hashtag cap is a myth, but the salary cap is an issue in 2020. Blah, blah, blah. All those things. But just in general, how do you feel? Like, I want to take the temperature of the fan base right now. Because for me personally, even though if you watch this channel for a while, we tend to skew positive. We are, we're not quite Optimus Prime. We're not always like sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows everywhere. We're not kissing Zimmer's ass. We're not kissing Kirk Cousins' ass. Like, we call a spade when a spade is a spade. You know what I mean? But I feel oddly good about this. And I understand, like, there's part of the fan base who are thinking the sky is falling. I mean, Big Goon is gone. Well, Xavier's gone, but whatever. Deho left. Mackenzie Alexander left for nothing. Trey Waynes is gone. Again, and Everson Griffin is gone, as well as they traded Diggs. I mean, what is going on here? But if you look back, they got a lot of value for Stefon Diggs, where DeAndre Hopkins was given away for nothing. Like, they got a backup running back in David Johnson who's not worth his big contract, as well as a second, fourth round pick, I believe. I mean, the Vikings were able to get a first round pick, which should have been the starting point for any negotiation when you're trading a high-end wide receiver. And also, Stefon Diggs isn't as good as DeAndre Hopkins. Now, this isn't revisionist, kicking out the door stuff. I think that Stefon Diggs certainly was in the top 10 to 12 area in terms of wide receivers in the league. I think he has a lot of room to get better as well. And I think he was emerging. I mean, look at him the past 2 years. But also, he's not on DeAndre Hopkins' level. So the fact that the Vikings were able to, don't want to say fleece. I think the Bills got a good deal, as well as I think the Bills are certainly in win-now mode, getting another great option for Josh Allen. I think that's a great deal on their part as well. So the Vikings loaded up on draft picks. They got 12 picks. They got 2 first-rounders. And also they have 5 picks in the top 105. I think this is a great opportunity for the Vikings to do that retool. Again, not a rebuild. And you look at the positions of need for the Vikings in the draft. I mean, offensive tackle. Eventually, you want to replace him for Riley Reif. Look at the top 6. It's a great offensive tackle class. You look at cornerbacks, extremely deep. Wide receiver could be an all-time great class. So I think the Vikings are actually pretty okay at this point. But, I mean, there is a lot of uncertainty, especially with the draft. It's like, the draft can be a crapshoot. I mean, if you have a 45% hit rate, you're going to be making a lot of money in the draft. It's kind of like craps. Yeah, well, no, it's like sports betting, except sports betting you have to win like 55% of the time because of the juice. But whatever. That's a bad analogy. But yeah, I know. If you put it out there now, how do you feel about the Vikings offseason? You have to wait for the draft. Fully understand that. But I'm talking about right now. We have a full month where there's basically going to be nothing happening, barring the odd free agent move here or there. So how do you feel about this team? I am oddly optimistic just going forward, because also we're going to know. We're going to know, because if the Vikings had decided they were half pregnant with Kirk Cousins the entire time, I would have been upset, because even though I didn't agree with the Kirk Cousins signing at first, 3 years, $84 million fully guaranteed, I'm somehow more okay with the extension than if they hadn't done it. As weird as that sounds, right? Because if the entire time they were trying to win with Kirk Cousins, but also maintain this great defense and then balance all those pieces and all of that stuff, you're half pregnant. And you can't do that in the NFL. Like, you can't. It's the restrictions of the salary cap, even though hashtag cap is a myth. If you have a quarterback on a top-tier contract, the rest of the team is just going to have to fall in line. They have to build around that quarterback, etc. Like the Patriots for the last couple of years, even though, yes, they've had a decent amount of success, they've been trying to be half pregnant with Tom Brady, where they use his cap money, his cap savings, because he always took a little bit less, because his wife Giselle makes 3 times more than he does per year, which, I mean, supermodels, respect. How do you make $44 million a year just by walking back and forth, turning left? But but they didn't use his cap savings smartly. Like, they didn't build a team around Tom Brady. I mean, look at Brady's receivers last year. My goodness. I mean, the corpse of Julian Edelman and also Josh Gordon for like 2 games, and then also Antonio Brown for a game. Cool, great, yeah. As well as the 6'5" jabroni receiver from Iowa State who didn't do anything, right? So they did it wrong. So now I think the Vikings are truly getting ready to load up because they're shedding some of the veteran contracts on defense, and they're like, okay, we're going to hammer the offensive line, both in free agency, both in the draft. We're just going to get after it, and we're going to build a great offensive line. We're going to have some weapons around Kirk Cousins. We're going to have establish a great running game with Dalvin Cook first, run out a lot of play action. Gary Kubak's going to turn Kirk Cousins into John Elway. That's exactly what's going to happen. I would be more upset if they didn't try that. If they just played out this last year where Kirk Cousins, bad offensive line, Diggs, being a pain in the ass, etc., and still trying to build up that defense, even though that defense ends up being middling in the league like they were last year, then, the part ways of Kirk Cousins, then you wouldn't know. Like, I want to open door number 3. I want to open up Cousinger's box and see if the cat is dead or not, right? So now I think for the next 2 years, because a 2-year extension, it's basically a 1-year extension. We'll see what happens in 2022. So for the next 2 years, this is Kirk Cousins' team, and I'm kind of glad that they're going to find out, right? Because we're at a spot, it's not like Andy Dalton, where like the Bengals signed him up to a long-term deal because they were afraid they couldn't do better. But Kirk Cousins has shown flashes. You look at October last year, you look at that wild card game, and yes, he does have some history working against them. He's a below 500 quarterback, #QB wins starting in this league. He has a horrendous primetime record, horrendous record against teams with winning records, horrendous on Monday night, etc. None of that really matters. As we go into next year, because if Kirk Cousins can just come in, ball out, is protected, is confident, can distribute the ball, and they run the ball, protect Kirk Cousins, and the defense is just opportunistic enough in getting after the quarterback, Danielle Hunter, taking away the ball a couple times a game, Anthony Harris, and then I think this team could get it done. And I know Vikings fans are a little bit uncomfortable right now because it's going away from the blueprint that Mike Zimmer had put down for the last couple of years, and something that's brought great success to the Vikings. I mean, 3 playoff appearances, 2 conference, 2 division wins, NFC title game appearance, etc. I get it. I fully understand that. So a complete paradigm shift on the fly, not going into a full rebuild, I think it's something that the Vikings could actually pull off. So I'm actually oddly optimistic about what this team is going to do. Now, if they screw the pooch in the draft, I'm going to be very upset. I'm going to be very, very upset. But Vikings are... I wouldn't trade the Vikings draft position for any team in the draft, except for maybe the Dolphins. I mean, the Dolphins are pretty good too. But yeah, your thoughts. Thoughts on the Vikings as of right now. Let us know in the comment section below. Also, subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Plus, noon today, noon Central Time. Actually, noon Central Time every single day this week. We'll be live streaming. We'll do some Q&As. We'll do some mock drafts. We'll do a lot of stuff, and we'll talk Vikings, free agency, the draft. It's going to be a lot of fun, and who knows? It may stick. Maybe we'll just do a regular daily noon show since everyone is at home, and we'll get ratings, so it'll make it worth it. But yeah, it's all good in the hood. Give us a follow on social media as well. But until next time, Skull, production value.